Good evening, friends, and welcome to a Sunday night live stream with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Devil's Den double murders, how the DNA and the public helped to get him identified and arrested. This monster, I don't even want to give him airtime, Andrew James McGann, 28 years old. A true monster. This demon, Ed, I say this a lot, and I have to repeat it here. We have evil that walk amongst us. And this case that happened last Saturday on July 26th is living proof that monsters walk amongst us. Ed, your thoughts on this case, and we have a lot to talk about tonight.
Again, it's another case. This just of someone allegedly just jumping into a double homicide that has no criminal record in the past to speak of, and goes out, decides one day, I'm going to take a knife, I'm going to put the tape around my license plates on my vehicle, I'm going to drive to the park and go on a trail and murder two adults in the presence of their two young children. It's just crazy. Again, I'd be looking at this guy in all the areas that he's ever lived in and worked in to see if there's any unsolved homicides and see if there's any link.
Yeah, he definitely has a very shady past going back to 2022 with all the different school districts that he worked in. And it goes from 3 different states, the state of Texas, Oklahoma, where he comes from, and Arkansas. He didn't start teaching yet, but he was set to start teaching next week and as a grade school teacher. And there are some allegations out there from parents after this horrific homicide took place that he was keeping young children, little girls after school, after class, and students were finding them sitting on his lap and him making statements like, oh, if you were older, I would like to date you. I mean, those are major red flags. This is not a normal person, a 28-year-old young teacher that is displaying this type of odd behavior. And it's no coincidence that our 2 victims here, Clinton David Brink and his wife, Kristen, had their 2 children with them. Their 2 daughters, 7 and 9 years young. That is not coincidence. That is something that, as investigators, we say we haven't heard it from the authorities as of yet, but I don't think that these 2 parents were his intended target. I really feel honest and truly, he was looking to take these girls from them, their daughter. But let's take a listen to, and let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know what you think in the chat. But I want to say thank you to the moderators, the replay viewers, the super chatters, the replay viewers, and everybody who is in the chat. We like to know what you think. So let us know as we are live.
The 28-year-old grade school teacher turned murder suspect Andrew James McGann is behind bars in Arkansas tonight after he was formally charged with 2 counts of murder, accused of the stabbing deaths of Clinton and Kristen Brink at Devil's Den State Park.
I've got two bodies down here.
It comes as we're learning new details about his capture, including the importance of this black Kia Stinger and how it led authorities to follow.
And I'm not going to stop it that many times, but I have to stop it right here because this vehicle is a rolling crime scene, and it's still many days later when he was arrested, 5 days later, give or take, it still had blood and different. You talk about the dirt and soil from
Trace transfer evidence. Yeah. So soil from the trail.
The car exchange principle comes into play, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I told you, Ed, I'm learning from you.
McGann right through the doors of a barbershop. With the importance of this black Kia Stinger and how it led authorities to follow McGann right through the doors of a barbershop. A witness saw a man with blood on his face drive off in a black car, according to court documents filed by prosecutors, which also say investigators used security footage to figure out the make and model, then tracked it to the salon, where McGann walked in mere minutes before law enforcement arrived.
I had chills as soon as I kind of saw through the hair that was in his forehead. I saw his brims of his eyes. They were very sunken.
Ed, what do you think? I'm just going to test you, and I know that you're going to pass this test. What do you think about the barber shop? This is a girl who touched this suspect, this perpetrator, who's now admitted that he committed these murders, going on national television and giving these interviews. I cringed when I saw it. I know that it's important for the news to get stuff out, but if this guy takes this to trial, I know he said to them that he admitted this, but what if he gets his attorney and his attorney says, whoa, you're going to plead not guilty and we're going to take this to trial. Let's see what happens here. She'll get called to testify, no?
Well, I mean, it depends. What I read in several articles is that she allowed law enforcement to take hair samples from the floor after she started cutting his hair. Mm-hmm. And she gave an interview to that effect. If I was law enforcement, I would, in that jurisdiction, and I was involved in this case, I would ask the witnesses to refrain from giving these kind of statements to the media.
Yeah. What do you guys think in the chat? Our live audience, our community here is some of the most educated true crime enthusiasts. What do you guys think in the chat when you saw this interview? Although it's always great to hear people talk about how this person acted, how he walked, what his demeanor was. But again, we're looking at justice. We're not looking at the oohs and ahs of this thing. And that's the lens that Ed and I and anybody that wants justice should be looking at it. But
yeah, and not 15 minutes of fame.
Correctamundo.
Law enforcement arrived.
I had chills as soon as I kind of saw through the hair that was in his forehead. I saw his brims of his eyes. They were very sunken.
According to those documents, McGann acknowledged he was the car's owner. Investigators noticed cuts on his hands and searched the Kia, finding blood inside and arresting him. They later matched DNA from blood at the crime scene to the suspect's hair.
It is the intention.
Ed, before we hear from this district attorney, for our audience, can you just maybe settle a score on what is it? Blood from the perpetrator, or blood or from our victims here that could potentially be inside of that car?
Could be a combination of both, because he did injure himself during the attack, and that's always a situation that we find from time to time with with knives. Like this particular knife, as I keep showing from the Kohlberger case, has what's called a hilt right here. And that hilt stops your hand from going forward should the blade impact something like a bone and stop suddenly. And because of Newton's physics laws, your hand is going to continue forward, and that hilt will stop it. But if you take a knife like this that doesn't have a hilt and you're holding it,
be careful,
and then you stab an item and hit like bone, and you're thrusting, your hand slides forward, that bottom blade in this case can cut you, and then you start to bleed and you get injured, and it's called an offensive injury, because and a lot of times too, the tip of the blade will break off inside the victim. And that's found at autopsy, and you found at X-ray and autopsy.
Right.
But then, when you see these blood trails that are leading away from the crime scene, then you can suspect that the suspect had injured himself and then grabbed those samples.
Yes, and to be clear, obviously, both of these weapons that Ed showed are for demonstration purposes only, and it's not indicative of any weapon that was used. And we know a knife was used in this attack, and some of our true crime enthusiasts as well have already sent me messages on DutyRon.com, and thank you for those messages. They ask. There was knives recovered from the search warrant conducted at this perpetrator's home. How are they to determine at autopsy, or how do the investigative crime scene, CSI, homicide detectives, how do they make the determination of what knife he used if he doesn't tell them, Ed?
Okay, so there's going to be information of the geometry of the weapon that was used on the entry wound. And you'll see, like, for instance, this knife has a flat edge at the top. It's not sharp, but the bottom edge is the sharp edge. And so this geometry is going to be seen in the stab wounds. Okay, you'll see the flat surface on the top and the sharp edge at the bottom, and then based upon the depth of the stab wound, you can determine possibility of the length of the blade. So that geometry. Remember, we had a good friend on here, Dr. Murray Marks, forensic anthropologist, who said, skin has a memory, and it'll capture those details. Okay. So that's one way. The next is, depending on the type of knife, it could be tested for DNA. It could be tested for hairs and fibers and other trace transfer evidence. If you're stabbing through clothing, there's a potential for the fibers also to leave some geometric patterns, and also you can look under the microscope at the fibers and see how they're damaged and what side was blunt and what side was sharp. And then there's more testing that can be done. If sometimes, like in the case of certain knives, especially folding knives, or even this knife, you can look at the edges of the knife right in here, and there's a groove in there, and there's potential for blood to get down in there, and you can disassemble this, from the back end. You can see how you can pull this apart, pull the handle off, and get down in there and look for blood and other materials that may be in there associated with the attack.
It's fascinating what science can do. And again, Barbara Butcher and Dr. Murray Marks, they say it all the time when we have them on. They say that, our decedents, our victims, they speak to them by the wounds that they have, and what took place. It kind of tells them, it gives them insight into what type of injuries and how this person, ultimately met their demise. But at the end of the day, Ed, there's a lot of investigation that continues to go on behind the scenes after this perpetrator's in custody. Everybody wants to know what the motive. What is his motive? He, as you said, he didn't just go to that park just on a whim. He had black tape that he covered his license plate with as he was leaving. He had a backpack on, which we're going to see, and he, who knows what he had inside that backpack? There could have been, we don't know. They didn't expose that to the public. He could have had rope in there. He could have had all different kinds of objects and items in there.
Handcuffs. He could have had wire ties. He could have had any number of things to restrain somebody, or to torture somebody.
Yeah, it's a horrific crime. And again, these two victims, and it goes to their children as well. Now, 3 children, 3 girls, do not have a mother and father. They came from our great friends in the area, the Orrin and Orson Welles West, Orrin and Orson West, Bakersfield, California. So these folks are athletes from Bakersfield, California, transplanted to this
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas, this part of the region, were just newly transplanted there. It's just such a shame that this happened. I want to play the rest of this, and we'll get right back to you.
Investigators noticed cuts on his hands and searched the Kia, finding blood inside and arresting him. They later matched DNA from blood at the crime scene to the suspect's hair.
It is the intention of this office to at least give the jury the option to seek the death penalty in this case. So the state will not be waiving the death penalty in this matter.
McGann's arraignment is
That's important because, look, we saw Carla Jackson, our good friend in the chat. She said if he pleads guilty, can he still receive the death penalty? Again, state of Arkansas, each state has a little different operation here, but I would have to say to you, judicial operations vary from state to state, but I would have to say, once he gets assigned, which he has already been signed, a legal aid attorney, he's going to be advised to plead not guilty. And I don't think that we're going to see what we saw with Koberger and Stephen Stearns. It may happen, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it, because defense attorneys, Ed, always advise their clients to plead not guilty because they're just looking for one mistake in the investigative steps that were taken.
Yes, they do. And they also tell and advise their clients, keep your mouth shut.
Correct. Won't be hearing much from him from here on out.
set for later this month. Sam Brock, NBC News.
We thank you for.
So that was a little bit from a local affiliate. Ed, I listened to so much media on this, but I heard an interview with Tracy Waldner, our good friend. She's a retired CIA. And I don't know if you saw this one, but this really bothered me because she talked about teachers. She lives in Texas. And she talked about teachers that are on this rotating, she called it, I think, trash system or pass the trash, something like that. Anybody in the chat watch that clip? It was 2 days ago with on News Nation. But Tracy, her daughter was a victim of let's just listen to this because I was, Ed, I don't know, did you hear it? Did you watch this?
No, I didn't see this.
You got to see this, man. This was just mind-blowing on many different levels because she talks about teachers that have problems and how these school districts just bury them. And it looked like this is what happened with this kid. He was having trouble everywhere he was, and he was bouncing from place to place with these jobs.
Well, he resigned before he could be fired in one instance in Oklahoma.
Right. But we're talking about grade school kids here, Ed, and we have it in the New York City school system as well. They call it rubber room. These teachers, and both male and female, have problems, or whether it be drug use, drinking. It doesn't matter what it is. It's something.
It's the unions protecting their members. They put them in the rubber room, and they're getting paid full salary while they're there. And it's not the first time we've seen anything like this. Ask Melanie Little about the Catholic priest scandals.
Right. We're talking about kids here, and this is what blows my mind: is that unions and school districts, they tell parents, our kids are grown, but they tell you, oh, your kids are going to be okay here. We have this in place and that in place. It's all hogwash. And listen to this story that Tracy tells, because my mouth hung wide open when I heard this. By a show of hands in the chat, how many of you guys seen this interview? It's a short one. It's only 3 minutes. Let me know in the chat if you've seen this. Press a 1. If you haven't, press a 2. Just curious, but it's just, this is going to have your jaw is going to drop when you listen to this.
If you push past the horror of the Devil's Den murder, allegations that this poor family was slaughtered, there's something else beyond the Arkansas couple, beyond their kids. This elementary school teacher who did it, okay? Andrew James McGann. Whenever you kill people, you get 3 names. He was a teacher at an elementary school in Texas. Was he a known problem in that school and before and allowed to?
Hey, Ed, I'm just doing this because I'm going to forget. This picture, right? Arkansas State Police. He has the gown on from the barber shop here, it looks like. That was that black gown that you saw taken off by those.
It could be, yeah.
It didn't look like a turtle suit. It didn't look like this was the, what they give out when you're put into county jail on suicide watch. This looks like that black gown. So maybe one of those, because there was a big to-do. I saw on Facebook people going crazy over this picture. Could this maybe be one of those law enforcement officers? There was like a handful there taking this picture at the scene when they get him in custody, and now they're putting it out.
And what do they do? Photoshop the background? I mean, is that the background that was in the barbershop?
I don't know. People going nuts. It's the gown that the girl put on him when she was cutting his hair. You see it. We're going to show it in the video later.
Well, the officer folds it up and hands it back to them.
Right. People going nuts about it. Like what's up?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe that's just something they do down there when you're taking a booking shot.
Interesting.
In that school and before and allowed to move instead of being exposed, like what we said.
And trust me, folks, this is not me highlighting and showcasing Cuomo. I'm not a fan of his. I don't like his reporting, but some of you might like his reporting. That's fine. I'm playing this because what Tracy says here is very important, and it's really troubling.
Saw during the priest abuse scandal. Seems the answer is yes. Former CIA and FBI agent Tracy Walder joins me. Why her? Because I told you, this woman seems to have a connection, personally or investigatively, to everything I cover. Tracy, thank you for being with me. Thank you for sharing your experience once again. How do you know about this, and what do we need to know?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Chris. Aside from being CIA and FBI, I left the FBI to become a teacher. And my very first job actually was teaching in the same school district that Mr. McGann worked in. And what's really disturbing is this passing the trash. It's something I've been an advocate for about 5 years. And the reason I'm such an advocate is because I am former FBI, but it's happened to me. And it happened to my own daughter. And her teacher is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for child pornography charges. And I called CPS on him not once but 2 times, and the school did nothing about it. They were more concerned about preserving their reputation and preserving their optics to society than actually doing something about this teacher. And this is a trend that I am seeing across the United States, and it's wrong.
What's past the trash?
So basically, pass the trash is passing along teachers and allowing them to resign, which is exactly what happened to Mr. McGann, despite allegations of misconduct. And I understand that nothing was founded as a result of the sexual misconduct, but actually he was found to have poor classroom management skills and poor classroom judgment. Those are 2 things that as a teacher should follow you to your next job because they are directly engaged in your performance.
Right. I mean, look, it's easy to make the case against this guy. He's a psychopathic killer. Just look at him. The idea that he was ever seen fit for a classroom tells you on its face, you got a problem. Tracy Walder.
So interesting, and Tracy, I think Karen in the chat said, oh, she met him. She didn't meet him. She just said that she worked at that same school district where he was supposed to be working shortly. So, or worked in the past. So it's just an interesting piece just to show you guys that, like, there's monsters like, not exactly like this guy, but there's monsters like this throughout the United States, and they are being protected for whatever goddamn reason. Something's got to change here. That's a fact. I mean, look at what we're looking at here, Ed. And this guy was identified in the past of having, not so great behavior in the classroom as a teacher, a young teacher. He's only 28 years old. Your thoughts, Ed?
Yeah, and parents were complaining about the parent-teacher school meetings when this guy couldn't look them in the eye. And, he seems to have, all of these signs that maybe, Asperger's, or maybe he's on the spectrum. Who knows? Maybe, he is suffering from some form of mental illness or whatever the case may be. But again, you can't be just passing the buck with these people. You can't just say it's not my problem. We got rid of him. He resigned. Right. And, these things need to be reported. There needs to be a database on these teachers okay, that other school districts can tap into when somebody like this is, resigns without, any further information about why they resigned or were there any issues, so that we can, school boards can go in there before they hire somebody and look to see if, there are any allegations and what the charges were. I mean, because, we could, the public can look up law enforcement and fire department personnel and all kinds of other people, and see what their disciplinary records are.
Right.
Okay. At least in our state.
Yeah. And parents should be able to know what these teachers, what their past background is. Look, when we go to a doctor, what's the first thing you do? You look up his or her history, and see what kind of health grades they're getting. Let's listen. This is one of the parents from his past school district. Let's listen.
Spoke to the mother of one of his former students. Here's what we're learning about his past.
Well, we first met him in 2022 when the fall semester started.
Sierra Markham is trying to make sense of her son's former school teacher, Andrew James McGann, now being a murder suspect.
I guess that did surprise me, because while I thought he was off, I never got violent.
Arkansas State Police say McGann, 28 years old, fatally stabbed Clinton and Kristen Brink, who were hiking Saturday at Devil's Den State Park with their 7 and 9-year-old daughters with them.
The two little girls that witnessed the most horrific thing that you could ever imagine.
Investigators arresting McGann.
So that's
Video shows investigators arresting McGann on Wednesday.
So I don't know. That's like a funky colored.
Oh yeah, it's got paisley and stripes and everything. That's not what he was wearing in that shot.
What he was wearing in that photo. I just saw it quickly on Facebook, and people were saying that, there's something's not right here, and that was probably a turtle suit at the county jail. He is booked in at the local county jail in Washington. It's in Washington County Jail. That's exactly where this crime took place, in Washington County, and that's where he's booked in.
Wednesday at Lupita's Beauty.
I mean, you could see it right there. He kind of folds it and puts it on the chair right there, and then he picks
it up and he gives it to somebody.
Yeah. So interesting there, Ed. I had a video where it was a blonde mom who talked about her son seeing this teacher with a young student on his lap. And she reported this, and nothing was done about it. I mean, to me, that's just crazy. That's complete nonsense. And shame on a school district for not acting appropriately on that. He was just given the opportunity to, like you said, resign and just walk away and go somewhere else. It's almost like there's like a lot of cases we've covered in the past where bad cops resign or get fired from other jurisdictions, and then they go out and they go somewhere across the country and they get hired by some smaller department, and they don't check on them. It's like,
well, these licenses aren't reciprocal. You in many states require you to get their teaching license, so you can't just get a license in one state and then teach in another state. Right. Some states do allow it, but many don't.
Let's listen to this just for a minute or two.
Texted 2 nights ago by various parents of children that my son went to school with news articles that had McGann's mugshot on them. And I was just absolutely shaken that Kristen and Clinton Brink were brutally murdered, allegedly by the hands of the man that my son was around every day at his elementary school. While my son wasn't in his class, McGann was not his regular teacher. He was occasionally in his classroom on Fridays, and it was chilling to realize that he was around someone that could do this.
Yeah. And I mean, when we look at the photos, now there's photos of him smiling, on his social media, right? We have seen some pictures of him where he looks a little, friendlier, but what we're seeing here are the mugshots and the DMV picture, and we're seeing him go into jail. These are new images and new video that we're getting. What can you tell us about how McGann first came to teach in your district? Because I know when we get a teacher, we'll get an email and they describe who they are, what their interests are. Did you get that sort of sense from him? Did you get an introduction? How did you get to know this guy?
Yeah, we had nearly half of our elementary school teachers leave our school in May of 2022 for some reason, and we don't know. And so the school had to replace them throughout the summer. And so we were introduced to multiple teachers going into the fall on the school's Facebook page. And there was a post from Andrew McGann on there introducing himself. He was holding a cat. He looked super friendly, very young. In his post, he mentioned that he loves to run, and he was asking for go-to trails to run on, which is just chilling now to think of where these murders occurred. But, you know, I saw him at school events, and he looked charismatic. He looked like the kids enjoyed being around him. They flocked to him. He was always hanging out with the fourth graders. It wasn't for a while that we started to see some red flags in things that happened in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that, you know, the younger teacher, the cool guy trying to fit in and get along with these younger children. I mean, it's happened before, and usually everything turns out all right. But now we're in a different situation here. As the school year went on, you know, how would you grade him as a teacher? I mean, was he a good teacher?
Yeah, so again, my son wasn't with him every day.
Right, but on the Fridays.
Having regular interactions with him. He was occasionally in his classroom, and when my son would come home and I would ask him, what did you do today? The general answer is, if he was with Mr. McGann, I was on my iPad. I had free iPad time today to play games, or one day they watched the World Cup. So I didn't feel like my son was getting a whole lot of instruction. And then he started to talk to me about just things that a 10-year-old might say that stuck out to him. You know, Mr. McGann, you know, loves to play tag at recess. He plays truth or dare with the girls. You know, and then I started hearing these things like he's giving out candy. He gives candy out in class, but really it's for the girls. Or, you know, he's bringing Sonic drinks sometimes to special girls in the class. And these are the sort of things that started unrolling throughout the year that got our spidey senses up as parents.
Right. I mean, no kidding. I mean, talk about red flags, bringing candy. I mean, this like just goes down that checklist of concerns. What did school officials do when those concerns were reported? You and other parents went to the school and said, hey, there's something not right here.
So parents of girls who felt like their daughters were being groomed, who were in his class on a regular basis, went to the district. Some of these parents went to the school and the principal and the district and said, hey, there are inappropriate things happening in the classroom. My you know, a daughter sat in his lap in the classroom. A child overheard him speaking to a girl that he wished he could date her when she grew up.
What age?
These girls were 9 and 10.
What? I mean, again, this is mind-blowing that this guy was able to exist as a teacher anywhere after that. Telling an 8 or 9-year-old or 10-year-old or any child in grade school, or any student for that matter, it doesn't matter, even if you were a senior in high school, if you don't say that, I wish I could date you. As a teacher, teachers aren't supposed to be doing that. We know, obviously, teachers, we see them getting arrested left and right, you know, on the news and so forth. But God, there was so many red flags with this guy, Ed. It's just incredible that he was able to exist. And he traveled, 3 states, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. And, you know, this mother's right. You know, her son wasn't in his class, but had interactions with him on Fridays. And many parents had these red flags that were all over the place. But she goes on to say that the school did nothing about it when it was brought to their attention. Yeah. Let me know what you think in the chat. You know what you think in the comments. Ed, you were about to say something?
No, like I said, you know, there should be a database of any and all allegations and complaints against teachers that, you know, the public at large and school boards looking to hire somebody should be able to access and and go in there and see what's going on with these individuals. It's just crazy. Now, even like for cops, if your state is what's called a post-certified state, if you lose your post-certification, you can't be a cop.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's something that, you know, these loopholes have to be shut so that guys like this can't game the system.
Yeah, and he obviously got over on the system, and he was able to be around children. He was a danger, and again, 2 innocent people lost their lives. This monster, James McGann, Andrew James McGann, was able to exist and not be identified, and you know, banned from being a teacher in any school. Clinton David Brink, 43, Kristen Amanda Brink, 41. You know, the mom saw what was happening, and I would just have to now gleam and assume that he caught the father and the mom by surprise, because the mom quickly whisked her 2 children away to safety and then came back to try to help her husband. And she met her demise with this monster right here that's shown on the screen. What would he have done if he grabbed their kids? Would he have killed them, or would he have taken them off and sat them on his lap, God forbid, or did something heinous to them? Look at this guy. I mean, granted, this is an arrest photo, and this is not that gown that they put on you when you cut your hair. This is from the county jail. It's all ripped up at the top. The other one had some kind of pattern on it, as you pointed out, Ed. But yeah, I mean, God, just, you know, I mean, this was horrific double murder. But think about if the mom didn't whisk her children away. The mom and dad are both heroes. They whisked their kids away. The dad fought this guy off, and the father is a big guy. David Brink, Clinton David Brink, 43, is a big dude.
Originally, when they said that they confirmed his presence via DNA, I was like, okay, well, he's got no criminal record, so, you know, where did they get the you know, the DNA? What source is going on here that they were able to compare blood from the crime scene to him to say it was definitively him? I believe as teachers that their teachers' fingerprints and DNA should be on file with their license. It should be it should be a condition of their license,
of their employment. Yeah, license. Yeah, I mean, like one of our things is you couldn't be a New York City cop without a driver's license. Obviously, you go through all the checks, you get fingerprinted and all this stuff.
And our fingerprints are on file.
Yeah.
And in my case, our DNA is on file. So.
Yeah. So this gets a little bit more detailed about him, but you guys get the idea in the chat. You get the idea of what we're trying to highlight here is that, you know, the schools are our children are going to school to learn, not to be around creepy predators, murderers like this. And as you said, Ed, I would be looking at every place that this guy's ever visited, whether it was vacation or traveled with his family or work related. They should be looking at every open homicide case, because I would have to bet, you know, I don't know for sure, but I would have to bet that this isn't his first rodeo, but there is a chance it is. But this guy was showing all the signs of being real creepy and grooming these little girls, bringing candy and Sonic and sitting them on his lap after class. Like, come on. I mean,
did you see the video recently of in the mall where the little kid is picked up?
I did. Yeah. Crazy. This is scary. It's really scary. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things before we close up, because Ed, I know you got a lot to do. You got to get on the road and travel. You're going to be teaching this coming week, but I wanted to get live here tonight. The governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, said she was proud of the Arkansas State PD, Arkansas Park Rangers, local police, and federal partners for the excellent police work that they did. The superintendent of the state police also made mention of the public. And I think it's so important for us as retired law enforcement professionals to thank the public, because the public had a really big hand in helping identify this scumbag, this evil monster that walked amongst us. Now he is no longer walking amongst us, but 2 people had to lose their life. But the public, the homeowners, the people who put their Ring video doorbells or their IP cameras on their homes and sent it in, over 500 plus tips to the tip line that were manned by civilian and law enforcement. So the public, social media, the people who were eyewitnesses to this perpetrator leaving that park with blood on his face and getting in the car, DMV records through the DOT cameras and things of that nature. But the tips and the public, I have to really emphasize, sometimes the public, can really put us on wild goose chases and be a hindrance to investigations. But in this case and in many other cases, they help by coming forward with valid information. And the information that they provided was really, really key in getting that composite sketch that was from an eyewitness at that park that day. So kudos to the people who helped and stepped forward, because if you see something, say something. And we say that, it sounds corny, but it's so true. Right, Ed?
Yes, and getting all those videos of that car leaving the park was the crucial part of it. And then, doing the canvassing, the law enforcement doing the canvassing of the areas, the roads in and out of the park, and then following those routes, identifying cameras, getting the images to identify that car, and then do the DMV checks. So that good old fashioned police work coupled with the public helping, the cooperation of the public. We can't do it by ourselves, so you need that cooperation. It's huge.
Yes. Yeah. So I tip my cap to everybody and anyone who's gotten involved to come forward and help police close out this case. Here's just a little piece from a local affiliate. Let's just take a listen.
Hear yells calling for help. We're hiking down. I think they're
10-4, we're hearing them too towards the end of the lower part of the Devil's Den Trail. Occurred at Devil's Den, unit still en route, victims are still missing. Be on the lookout for a white male suspect wearing black gloves, sunglasses, dark colored pants, dark colored tank top. Attacked a male and a female on Devil's Den hiking trail, and then took off in a small black sports car with tape over the plate. Great.
Copy.
According to witness, direction of travel was, quote, went across a bridge leaving Devil's Den and stayed on the highway, end quote. Break. Both victims are still missing, and we suspect the suspect to have injuries due to the witness seeing the suspect stab one of them. Unknown what charges at this time.
Washington County received a call from the visitor center. 2 children are there. They advised that their parents were assaulted. One was possibly stabbed. The parents are missing.
To find out that,
So in that, that's some of the 911 dispatch audio. It said a witness saw, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think my ears heard that right, that he saw this perpetrator stab one of them.
That's what it said. That's what it said. I heard it distinctly.
Yep.
a couple people are just out there enjoying the same element that we're in. Got disturbed the way they did, I mean, it's kind of a messed up situation.
In a press release Sunday afternoon, ASP released an updated description of the suspect they're searching for.
Be on the lookout for a white male suspect wearing black gloves, sunglasses, dark colored pants.
Police say he was also wearing a long sleeve shirt with the sleeves rolled.
And I want to say that again is the public. This is an eyewitness that saw something, stepped up. That description didn't come from the police. That came from information that was relayed to either 911 or the police by a civilian. So kudos to the civilians who stepped up and said something after they saw something.
Rolled up and a black backpack. They also believe the suspect drove a Mazda with the license plate covered in tape and may have been traveling on State Highway 170 or 220 near the park. While the trails are closed, many other places like the visitor center and the cabins are open to the public.
You can't even roll into the park without seeing them taking care of the situation. You know, law enforcement's doing what they got to do.
The superintendent at the park told me he's talked to all the guests and informed them of the situation.
I got other people around. Park's hot right now. You know, there's, you know, extra enforcement. People are, you know, looking out for it. I got nothing to say for that dude right there. You know, it's gonna come down on him, and when it does, you know, then God's gonna help him. You know, because those people didn't deserve that. I mean, they're just out here just trying to enjoy their time.
It was very obvious that something was going on, and
we didn't know what. You know, thought maybe somebody had an accident on a trail. Maybe they fell or something like that.
Those are the words of visitors who were at Devil's Den State Park Saturday when 43-year-old Clinton David Brink and 41-year-old Kristen Amanda Brink were attacked and killed while hiking. Law enforcement says the couple had recently moved to Prairie Grove. Highland Dairy confirms Clinton Brink had just transferred from its parent company in South Dakota and was set to start work in Fayetteville this week.
It was very unfortunate, and we're, you know, our hearts just go out to
the family.
And wasn't it said that he went to get that haircut to kind of change or hide his face, right? He asked for a cut to keep the hair down over his eyes or something like that.
Well, you know, not sure if that was said, but you know, I can see that being used in court, that he went to change his appearance.
Absolutely. And that's I just highlighted a chat message that, you know, you murder two people and then several days later you go to try to get your hair cut. It's commonly done. And sometimes these monsters go to one of their friends or somebody who's helping them on the side. Hey, could you change my appearance? They sometimes shave their head if they have
dye their hair, or, you know, a combination of all the above.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Family and the victims.
Everyone that witnessed that.
It's just, you know, our hearts break for them.
And we love to hike. We love to go out on trails. We love to go hiking with family, and it really puts it's very somber out here.
Police say the Brinks were walking with their two daughters, just 7 and 9 years old. Both girls are now safe and with family.
You feel guilty, really, for being here, and it's like you want to have fun, but you don't want to have fun because you know what's happened. You just never know. You never know, and I think the hardest part is not having cell service.
Visitors say the tragedy is a reminder to stay alert, even in places that feel safe.
We do feel safe, but there is a false sense of security sometimes. You know, have some way of communication and go in numbers, and just don't be too lax on it. If you have a gut instinct and you see something.
And 2:20, police releasing a sketch of the suspect late Monday night, and today a major development, a photo of the man they believe is responsible, urging the public.
This was, again, a person that snapped a photo, and they asked everyone to check their cameras from that day. And this was sent in by a civilian at this picture.
Mm-hmm.
To come forward with any information. Just down that trail, investigators spent hours combing the area. The children not injured in the attack and are safe with relatives. The Brink and Osgood families releasing a statement asking for privacy as they grieve and learn how to navigate this new reality. According to a statement released by state police, adding, Clinton and Kristen died heroes, protecting their little girls, and they deserve justice.
Agreed.
They will forever live on in all of our hearts.
This is who Arkansas State Police want to talk to in connection to the double murder investigation. You can see the man.
Thinking about what
Louise
to deal with.
It was a typical Wednesday at Lupita's Beauty Hair Salon in Springdale for Adriana Ruiz, a hairdresser at the shop for the last 11 years. But things quickly changed after one man who seemed to be a normal client sat in her chair.
Something felt off about him. He looked
into the deadly Devil's Den attack.
His eyes just looked sunken, pretty kind of like soulless. They haven't caught him yet. Saw him here and I just had chills.
Ruiz says her heart goes out for Brink's 3 daughters left behind after the attack.
My thoughts and prayers.
So there you have it, Ed. You know, you always say at the end of our shows, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't be any more true with this. I mean, look, there's so many people that are dead against arming yourself legally. I carry my sidearm. I went to the beach today. I took my gun with me. I had it in a fanny pack strapped onto my hip. I didn't go in the water. It stayed on me the whole time, but I took it to the beach today. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
So, bear spray, any type of legal self-defense that you could have with you, I say bring it. And if you're able to legally, carry, and your state allows you to do that, in this day and age, we're living in a really, really messed up time, and it's been like this for a pretty long time.
Yeah, you are your first line of defense. It's not 911, it's you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when second matters, law enforcement are minutes, if not longer, away from getting to you to help. So whatever it is you decide to do to protect yourself, whether it's getting a firearm or getting a taser or pepper spray or whatever the case may be, you need to train on that particular item that you plan to deploy. But none of this is any good if you don't have any situational awareness, if you don't understand what's going on around you as you're traversing your way through life and through the world, on the streets or in the parks or in the beach. You always have to have your head on a swivel and understand what it is that you're seeing, and and be able to interpret threats that may be in your surroundings. Okay.
Yeah. And again, he could have caught them, both of them, by surprise, and this could have happened in a split second. But again, the mom was able to get away and take her kids, thank God, to safety. And then she immediately thought, I got to go back and help my husband. And she did that, and it cost her also her life. But I want to just say, again, this is about the victims and their families, and I'll put their photos up. These are our two victims, Clinton David Brink, 43, and his beautiful wife, Kristen Amanda Brink, 41. Victims of a tragic homicide perpetrated by this monster. I don't even want to say his name. We know who he is. He's in custody. He admitted to the murders. He may change that once he gets an attorney. But again, I can't overemphasize the having your head on a swivel, being aware of your surroundings. I think maybe we should do a personal safety show. And it may not get an audience, it may not have a lot of people watch, but I think it's important. And you guys let us know in the chat or in the comments down below if you'd be interested in seeing something like that, because there's many ways to keep yourself safe other than arming yourself with a firearm. And you can only do it legally. We're not in any way, shape, or form saying get yourself a firearm and not do it legally. You have to do it the legal way. But if you're against that, there's many other methods that you can employ to keep yourself safe. So let's maybe we'll do that. It's a good show idea. I think it looks like a lot of people would like to watch that. Ed, any final words as we have our victims up on the screen here as we segue out?
Well, as we always say, it's about the victims, folks. So prayers and thoughts to these victims. These children are going to need a lot of support now. They're going to need some mental health aid. They're going to have a rough time now. And so if keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And I'm sure there's already GoFundMe and other things out there for them to support them. And as always, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Absolutely. And it is always about the victims. Thank you, Ed, for that. Next court date is August 25th for this monster that is locked up now. I hope he's having a miserable time in the Washington County Jail. But they said that they may get him in sooner than the 25th of August for his next court date. But that was what we saw on the live stream that they put out there. So again, we'll be following this closely. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to thank you for being here. We want to also say, let's be respectful with the comments as we speak about this. Their children, their family members, cousins, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, mother, fathers of these victims could be watching. They're from Bakersfield, California. The two of them, they went to, I believe, high school and some college in Bakersfield. And they were athletic, both of them. They both were athletes. So again, on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we wish you guys a good week. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Ed, for hanging with us. I'll go full screen with our victims here as we segue out. Thank you all for joining, and good night from New York.